Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Banachari. Yamuna Tira Banachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Prayuktan Bojarajena Mayina Kamarupinaha Lilaya Vyanudattam Stan Balakridana Kanniva Prayuktan engaged. Bojarajena by King Kamsa. Mayinaha great wizards. Kamarupinaha who could assume any form they liked. Lilaya in the course of the pastimes. Vyanudat killed. Tan them. Tan as they came there. Balaha the child. Kridanakan dolls. Eva like that. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. The great wizards who were able to assume any form were engaged by the king of Bhoja, Kamsa, to kill Krishna. But in the course of his pastimes, the Lord killed them as easily as a child breaks dolls. Please repeat. The great wizards who were able to assume any form were engaged by the king of Bhoja, Kamsa, to kill Krishna. But in the course of his pastimes, the Lord killed them as easily as a child breaks dolls. Purport. The atheist Kamsa wanted to kill Krishna just after his birth. He failed to do so, but later on he got information that Krishna was living in Vrindavan at the house of Nanda Maharaj. He therefore engaged many wizards who could perform wonderful acts and assume any form they liked. All of them appeared before the child Lord in various forms, like Aga, Baka, Puttana, Shakata, Trinavarta, Denuka, and Gaba. And they tried to kill the Lord at every opportunity. But one after another, all of them were killed by the Lord as if he were only playing with dolls. Children play with toy lions, elephants, boars, and many similar dolls, which are broken by the children in the course of their playing with them. Before the Almighty Lord, any powerful living being is just like a toy lion in the hands of a playing child. No one can excel God in any capacity, and therefore no one can be equal to or greater than him. Nor can anyone attain the stage of equality with God by any kind of endeavour. Jnana, Yoga and Bhakti are three recognized processes of spiritual realization. The perfection of such processes can lead one to the desired goal of life in spiritual value, but that does not mean that one can attain a perfection equal to the Lord's by such endeavours. The Lord is the Lord at every stage. When he was playing just like a child on the lap of his mother Yasoda Mai, or just like a cowherd boy with his transcendental friends, he continued to remain God, without the slightest diminution of his 6 opulences. Thus he is always unrivaled. Prayuktan Boja Rajena Mayina Kamarupinaha Lilaya Vyandattam Stam Bala Kridana Kaniva. The great wizards who were able to assume any form were engaged by the king of Boja, Kamsa, to kill Krishna. But in the course of his pastimes, the Lord killed them as easily as a child breaks dolls. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, and fortunately my spiritual master, he forced my eyes open with the torchlight of transcendental knowledge. Therefore I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. I have to apologise that I misheard the verse. I was thinking we were 1 chapter ahead, so I prepared on the end of the next chapter, getting a bit ahead of ourselves. So this is quite a surprise to read about the Lord playing with dolls. Like playing with dolls. His dolls are demons, ferocious demons, multi-headed serpents, Agasura, maybe. Anyway, spitting poison, spitting venom. These are the dolls that the Lord is playing with. And he just dispatches them. Playing with Kaliya. He was enwrapped in his coils for a couple of hours, and his mother fainted, and everybody was just on the verge of leaving their bodies, contemplating how much suffering, how much torment, how much danger was there for their beloved child Krishna. And he just got up and started dancing on the hoods of Kaliya and performing a merry show, and then Kamsa, the torment. Everybody was frightened of Kamsa. He was killing children. He was destroying the cowherds. He was doing everything to make life hell in the kingdom. And Krishna came along, strutting along with his elephant's tusk on his shoulder. He just killed that elephant. What was his name? Kaluvaliyapida? Kaluvaliyapida, yeah. And just described the bull demon. Who was that? Aristasura? He just like when you step on a rag to wring it out, Krishna just disdainfully just crushed him. And Keshi just put his fist in his mouth and then he was gone. So Kamsa, after killing Kamsa, Krishna just dragged his dead body into the arena to show everybody, because Kamsa was such an awe-inspiring personality. Everybody was wondering. And before the Kamsa interaction, he was wrestling with Chanura and Mustika, and these mountains of men, and he's just a little boy in the form of a little boy. So he was toying with them, off exchanging blows and slapping each other around, and not imitation like you see the wrestling nowadays, but real. But still, their bodies, those great wrestlers, they're built like tanks. They're built like brick walls. And so you crush them, you smash them. In the battle, warriors were receiving wounds. Their bodies were just penetrated with arrows. They kept on fighting. They were becoming so incensed that they just... Nighttime came. They were supposed to stop fighting, but they kept on fighting. They couldn't stop. They were just overwhelmed with this fury. And they were so excited. They were lopping off their own limbs and they were killing their own men. They were just... But Krishna just nonchalantly comes along and punches somebody. Lord Balaram, after fighting with Vivida, uprooting forests and clubs and... Sorry, this is exciting for those people who have I don't know whether a martial bent or a blood and guts and fighting spirit. We once went on a trip after a huge marathon up to Gordadesh farm. There's a property that is no longer in our possession. 20,000 hectares or 16,000 hectares? 35,000 hectares. It was on the bank of the Murray River. Grew a lot of rock melons there and saltbush. There's a lot of saltbush growing there and sheep. And sold it to the Chinese government. And they're developing herbs there. So we took a bus, one of these little mini buses full of Sankirtan devotees, up to the farm. We'd just done a marathon, we were all wound up and excited. We wanted to have a kirtan, but there was no opportunity. There was a small-time temple, Gaur-Nitai, and scheduling a kirtan, how to do it, how to disrupt the schedule. These warriors descending on the place. So we had an extended Tulsi kirtan. Went for a couple of hours. Tulsi is the focus. On the way back, after expending a lot of passion and excitement, somebody had a tape of Sri Galim, the Mahabharata, and it was just at the stage where all of the killing and the fighting and the beheading and the rivers of blood and the so it was just so absorbing, so satisfying, so thrilling to be able to sit there for 8 or 9 hours. It's a long journey, and just hear the nectar being poured in your ear. All of these gory, blood-curdling pastimes. That's Krishna. Krishna dancing on the hoods of Kalaya. The wives of the serpent, Kalaya, they came up after Krishna and they thanked him. Thank you for beating the everything out of our husband. He was so exhausted. He was fighting and opposing Krishna. After 2 hours, he started vomiting blood and then vomiting poison. He was so exhausted. The wives came up and said, "Thank you. Thank you for beating some sense into our husband." He was such a vile creature, always doing something, and you purified him. The touch of your lotus feet purified him. So the Nagapatnis, they appreciated Krishna's mercy, Krishna's blessing to bestow benedictions, to bestow mercy on a personality in such a body, in such a form. These wizards who could change their form, they had such a body because they had so much angst and contempt and so much envy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Powerful, intelligent, but denying the existence, against the existence, wanting to become God themselves. No one can excel God in any capacity, and therefore no one can be equal to or greater than him. Nor can anyone attain the stage of equality with God by any kind of endeavour. Asamurdva. There's nobody who is equal to or greater than God. But people aspire for that. Individuals aspire for that. They want to take over God's position. I'm God. Look at my 4 arms. Universes are emanating from me. My smile lights up the whole cosmos. But you got cancer, you got a throat cancer, you've got some problem. Oh, that's just my pastime. That's my lila. Okay, if you're God, manifest some of the opulence of God. Do something. Don't just say, what is that? A legend in their own mind. And persons who are trying to accept that position, they're disgruntled. They've tried to be big in something. They've tried to do this, tried to do that. None of the things worked. So let me become God. That's still available. Last snare of Maya. Let me try and it's easy. I just have to advertise myself. I just have to promote myself. I just have to act and think and the secret. I have to be aware and I'll attract so many things to me. So the real God, Krishna, displays all of these wonderful pastimes. In this particular point in the Bhagavatam, Uddhava is recalling all of these amazing features of Krishna's pastimes. He couldn't come to terms with the question, is everybody still here? And so this is his response. One of our friends in Mayapur, a sannyasi, GBC, he left his body, and his godbrother was called to confirm that he left his body, and when he came back he sat down in a class and just continued with the class. On the way to identifying the body, he called upon Krishna Rupa's son, because he knew the art of acupuncture. Do you have any needles that can revive a purple person? So, trying to make light of it, trying not to be overwhelmed by the loss, the separation, the distress that comes about because your family's just disappeared. The tsunami hit. We were living in Mayapur, and I saw something strange. I had a Srimad Bhagavatam, and it had a zip cover. So the zip started moving. I thought, that's strange. And 4 days later, people from looking at the news, and they were talking about this tidal wave. I said, what tidal wave? So, blissfully ignorant. A week later, we ended up in the middle of the zone. We went on a mission to Sri Lanka to appease, to try and uplift the people who had instant karma. Sitting there one moment, and the next moment all their family's been killed. They're sitting on the roof of their house, or they're being washed away in these waves. It's just a tidal wave, a swoop of just karma just hitting them, smashing them. And afterwards we had to try and help them, uplift them. Some people, I've never seen people so downtrodden and depressed. You see features on people when they're upset. Smile is enlivening. The opposite. It's hard to get the muscles to move and to get the heart to move. It's just depression, overwhelming depression. One lady, she was sitting there. Part of our program was to have kirtan, to distribute prasadam, and there were a lot of children. So we were engaging the children in quizzes. in discussions, and they would get a prize. So we started asking questions about Krishna. In Sri Lanka, Krishna is not very prominent. We switched over to Ram. Bang! They had all the answers. Everybody was coming alive, and they were getting involved. And one little old lady in the front, so depressed. I think she started to move a little bit during the kirtan. It was very, very difficult. So Uddhava is in this situation. He's his beloved Lord. Uddhava was so close to Krishna. Krishna wouldn't go anywhere without Uddhava. He wouldn't make any decision without Uddhava. He spoke about Uddhava, said that you are more dear to me than my very self, than Mother Lakshmi. You are so dear to me. And likewise, Uddhava, he had that same bodily complexion as Krishna, due to that connection, that affection, that closeness. So, gone. Left. So this is Uddhava's response. When the rasa dance was going on, the cowherd maidens were dancing with Krishna. Krishna had expanded himself, one Krishna, one gopi, one Krishna, one gopi. Everybody thought they had Krishna. They've got, look, I'm so fortunate, I'm the best. Krishna disappeared. And then again madness set in. We've lost Krishna. We'll talk to the trees, we'll talk to the creepers, we'll talk to the deer. Do you seen Krishna? You look jubilant, you look happy, you must have been in the association of Krishna. Can you tell us where he is? And then after exhausting all those opportunities, they just resorted to sitting down and chanting Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We like to chant. Sometimes we get a little bit distraught, we're getting depressed, we're overwhelmed, we don't have the enthusiasm, we're too sick. We can't chant. But we have to chant. Prabhupada told some of his disciples when they were involved in heavy, responsible tasks, building Mayapur Temple, being involved in legal battles, years of just going to the court and facing lawyers, soul destroying these corrupt people. The devotees, they'd come back and that just down. Prabhupada said you have to go to kirtan. No matter what, you have to go to kirtan. Uplift your soul, become enlivened again. So the same thing with us. If we're feeling overwhelmed or affected by the modes of material nature, we just have to reach out, just Krishna. It's like when we're being attacked by a ghost. You can't chant. You have to think. One of our friends, another devotee who was a martial artist, he couldn't, but he would start fighting. He would start kicking. He would just get out of the clutches of such immobilizing, gripping fear and terror and sorrow. And the holy name can drag us out, can uplift us, can give us succor again. So, and all these pastimes, Krishna comes in order to display all these pastimes. So we've got something to think about, something to remember, something to connect with. It's not just a vague thing, oh Krishna, why can't I love you, Krishna? Krishna, I love you. How come I can't love you so much? But all of the different elements of Krishna's pastimes, all of the things we've experienced, all of the realizations we've got, that's our connection, that's our upliftment. What's it called? Leela Smaranam. Leela Smaranam, it's a process of remembrance. You remember and you just... It's alive, it's satisfying. That remembrance comes alive again. You relive that realization. And eventually it becomes constant. It becomes more, oh, here we are. But I remember the time when we were going out on Harinam, and the demons started attacking us, and we all gathered together in a circle, huddled together. There was knives coming through, and we were throwing cartels, and drums were going out, and kicking, and it's very good to kick if you wear a dhoti, because you can approach somebody closely and they're on the ground and nobody saw anything because the dhoti covers. And mridangas make good weapons, and cartels. Prabhupada was swinging around some cartels at one stage when he was noticing his devotees being attacked. So just to remember those past, and remember that we're in such a distressful situation. We called out to Lord Nrsimha. We called out to Krishna. And suddenly we felt protected again. We felt in that umbrella. We felt relieved from all of the distress. Just remembering Prahlad Maharaj, in so much distress, boiled in a pot of oil, thrown off mountain peaks, ripped apart by elephants. Jai Shri Hari, Jai Shri Hari. Just remembered Krishna, and everything evaporated. Illusion. Maya, the world of Maya, the world of separation from Krishna. It's just an illusion. So Krishna performs these pastimes in order to give us something to base our thoughts around. Our thoughts. Our mind can be our best friend or our worst enemy. So nourish the mind. Nourish the mind with more and more and more and more and more and more unending nectar. Hearing about Krishna. Remembering Krishna. The more we hear. There's a practice of reciting the Bhagavad Gita, a chapter at a day. The chapter, are you still doing that? Bhagavad Gita? You did it for a long time. But you just get no habit. Bhagavad Gita becomes more familiar. It becomes your friend. Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is speaking to us from the Gita, speaking to us from these scriptures. This is our life. Burijan Prabhu, he once said, the temple program's pretty easy to get together. You get up in the morning, take bath, change, fresh clothes, attend the temple, Mangalati, trying to be conscious, trying to be awake when you're glorifying the spiritual master, glorifying the deities, doing some service, japa, taking prasadam, listening to the class, becomes a routine, becomes easy to manage. And here I am in class again. When's breakfast? So where's the inspiration? Where's the juice? It's from the pastimes of Krishna. It's from the scriptures, from being absorbed in the Grantharaj, the king of all scriptures, the Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Nectar of Devotion. So we're very fortunate. We have this opportunity to hear about these great souls, the great demons, and the personalities who dispatch them in the different ways, and that gives us excitement. That gives flavour. That gives a goal to our lives to understand more and more. And Nrsimhadev, the source of all power, a wrath supreme. At the front door of the Melbourne Temple, you walk in and there's this picture of Lord Nrsimhadev. Blood everywhere. And some people are saying it's a funny way to greet guests with this vision. When the first painting of Nrsimhadev dispatching Hiranyakashipu was painted, the artist brought the picture to Srila Prabhupada, and he appreciated it, but he said, more blood. More blood. It's not... And the images are very vivid and very striking, because those things, they connect with you. We were in Sarajevo the year after the Kirtan party got attacked, so we saw some videos of what was going on. They were besieged in a war for 20 months or something like that. So one image of the video was, these little people with the cell phones, they can capture these things. A street, and then a bomb came in and blew it up. So there was dust and everything like that, and then the aftermath. So the first instance, like you become a little bit numbed. You see these images and you think, oh yeah. But when you go back and you see it again, and you can see the mangled bodies, the limbs and things like that, then you start to get sick to the stomach. Then you start to actually become aware. So the vivid displays, what do they say? The raw expression of Maya. That's necessary for us to wake up from the sleep, the sloth that we're in. Body's working well. You scratch under the surface, that's all horrible, it's nasty. So these pastimes are very vivid, they're very dramatic, in order to give us upliftment and hope and satisfaction and the chance to rekindle our lost relationship. To go back home, back to Godhead, to get out of this nasty place, which Prabhupada said is like a latrine. Any gentleman, they go in, they do their business and they get out. They don't linger. So, anyway, it's quite interesting. Uddhava and his pastimes and Srimad Bhagavatam and this area of the Bhagavatam. One of the new gurus, Narayani, she spent a lot of time studying and presenting classes on the Bhagavatam. One of her sayings which I remembered is that when you are going through a certain section of the Bhagavatam, those pastimes, you tend to become, you identify with them, you tend to become absorbed in them. There's a particular message, a particular flavour of the Bhagavatam or the scriptures at that particular time. If you have the habit of regularly attending Bhagavatam or any of the classes, or if you regularly read, then there'll be a message from Krishna for you, which is pertinent. I have the experience of not reading that morning, coming back in the evening and reading, and there was the little saving grace that would have helped me through the day. That's what I fell down to. That's what I succumbed to. Krishna was trying to tell me, but I didn't listen. Tat Shrinu, just here. So, now we're going through this section of the Bhagavatam. I hope everybody's getting some upliftment and getting remembrance and getting association of these great personalities and can take them with them back to the spiritual world. Does anybody have any questions? Or comments or stories? Vaishnavi out there, she's got an easier question.
Thank you for the class. But you mentioned that the material world is not a fit place for any.
Hang on, can you take the mask off? I can't hear you.
I have a bad allergies, pollen.
Just lift it up so your mouth is exposed.
You mentioned about the material world is not a fit place for any lady and gentleman. It's like a latrine or toilet. So you just do your business and get out.
Mm-hmm.
So what would you say to someone who says that, you're just very negative because the world is also very beautiful and music, but so how would you explain that to someone? And they say that you're just being...
You're going to die. It's temporary. And the quality of that happiness that you're perceiving around you is very flickering. Chapala Sukla. Chapala Sukla. This human body is meant for other things. Nayam deho bhajam nriloke kastan kahatam ahate vidbujam. Don't be like a pig, just eating the stool. That's what you're eating. Dead stuff. It's dry. It's fresh and it's vegetarian and it's mode of goodness. The gentleman was enjoying some rasagullas, And then afterwards, answering the call of nature, he looked down in disgust at what he'd just passed. And a response came back, "What are you looking at? Previously, we were Rasagulas, but by association with your nasty body, look what we've become." So it's our take on the whole thing, which is negative. If we see it as Krishna's energy, which can be used to serve him, then we're not here. We're actually absorbed in Krishna consciousness. We're absorbed in Vaikuntha mood. We're not here. We're in the spiritual world. Material and spiritual. Trying to deal with matter, we're in that world. Understanding that it's all spiritual, it's all Krishna's energy, Krishna's everywhere, then we are no longer here. We're absorbed in the spiritual world. So it is a beautiful place, but it requires that switch, that little flick of the switch, that change of consciousness, to be conscious of Krishna. Then everything becomes wonderful. So you can enjoy it, but if you're enjoying it separately from Krishna, then it's dead.
The other point that Bhagavatam explains that you have a level of enjoyment. Of course, when you're enjoying your senses,
Tashyeva hetu prayate is called.
The concomitant reaction, or the bad reaction, is actually higher. It's more than the level of enjoyment. So it's not like you have a level of enjoyment here and you're committing sinful activities, for your enjoyment, and then the karmic reaction is the same. No. You'll enjoy here, but you'll suffer there. So it's a
buy now, pay later.
Pay later a lot.
You got to pay. Yeah.
Hare Krishna. I just wondered, with respect to these different demons that were in this pastime, are there any commentaries or sort of developments where we see them as a pastime, but also as maybe metaphors for types of challenge that we might face in our own attempt to bring Krishna into our lives, and then anticipate these qualities or different types of challenges and threats?
Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he writes about the benefit of meditating upon these demons and how they're dispatched by Krishna. Trinavrata. What is that? Oh yeah. Pride. How to remove pride. Meditating on Trinavrata. The actual description of the Trinavrata demon is quite brief. Comes along, takes Krishna up and creates a whirlwind and then gone. And so I was searching for that, reading through the Krishna book, such and such. When you actually read through the Bhagavatam, the before and after, the respect for the Brahmanas and like that it frames like a culture that you can become absorbed in. So therefore, pride is just the antipathy, the opposite of what you want to achieve. So you just, no, I want to be absorbed in that culture, so therefore you just give up the lower taste. So all of the swallowing the forest fire, Kaliya, Putana, very famous, the pseudo-guru. The pseudo-guru, here, come, I'm like your mother. But then all of the different things. So, yeah, Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes specifically which anatta will be removed by which demon you can meditate upon. Then to discover the details of that pastime, you have to search a little bit. Just like sometimes you get an idea in your mind, I want to deal with this. So you go and you search through, and from different angles of vision, you find information. How to deal with lust. The only way to conquer lust is you have to nista lust, is you have to worship Radha Krishna. Okay, that sounds simple. So what comprises worship of Radha Krishna? You have to go into that in depth, and it's something that has to be uprooted from the heart. So these guidelines, these directions are there. Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes about them. The Sringadev. Powerful. Lord Balaram, powerful. Sometimes you look at the deities and, okay, they're beautiful, but they're also embodying a particular mood. Lord Nrsingadev, he bit me once. In Mayapur, there's a story of a pujari who was not looking after Nrsingadev properly, and so that night in his dream, he woke up and in his dream, and there was this lion on his chest with his claws about to rip open the chest of the pujari. So he freaked out, and in the morning was in a pale state. He was and he told, I think his name was Baba Sudhi. He told one of the devotees. The devotee said, he asked him what was going on. Pundarik Vijayanidhi, he went to sleep, and Jagannath and Balaram came and started slapping his face. In the morning he had swollen cheeks. So he was ashamed to go out. As soon as he met his friend Swarup Damodar Goswami, he asked him what, and so he said, "You're so fortunate. The Lord has appeared to you like this." So Baba Sudhi with Nrsingadev, he went, and the devotee asked him, "What happened? Why are you walking around in your underwear? Why are you so upset? What's going on? Distraught?" And he said, "Well, look." He opened his shirt, and there were the nail marks, the claw marks of Lord Nrsingadev. Nrsingadev, in my experience, little Nrsingamurti, as we were scrubbing him, when you bathe big Nrsingadev in Mayapur, you take his teeth out and his eyes out, and he looks different, covered in beautiful substances. But this little Murti had teeth, and as I was trying to scrub his teeth, one of the little teeth got stuck in my finger. And Lord Jagannath and Lord Balaram in Melbourne Temple, Snan and Yatra, we were bathing them, and bathed with ghee and all these slippery substances. So to get the ghee off, you have to rub the rice powder and bathe with lots of hot water, and then wipe with cloths. So Lord Balaram, I think, who's more heavy than Lord Jagannath, I was holding him, and Jaitirtha Charan was bathing him, and he was wiping every wipe, and he wiped underneath, and he wiped my hands out completely from underneath Balaram, and he realised that Balaram had no support, and he yelled, he roared at me, "Grab him!" So Lord Balaram didn't fall down, didn't move, still managed to catch him. And then afterwards we were taking the deities upstairs in Melbourne Temple, up the red carpet upstairs to rest. So we carried Lord Jagannath upstairs first, two of us, and then waiting for Lord Balaram to come, we looked back down the stairs, and you could see Lord Balaram dancing up the stairs. The devotees were carrying him, but he was dancing. Same thing with Radha Madhava. Radha Madhava, we spent time when Radha Madhava were moving from their old temple to their new temple onto the altar, and their beloved servitor was guiding the whole procession, the whole procedure. Madhav weighs 3/4 of a ton and Radharani weighs 1/2 a ton, which is nothing compared to the Panchatattva. Lord Gauranga weighs 3.6 tons, and the other deities are slightly less. So 3/4 of a ton, marble, very difficult to move. So Madhava, Radharani was a little bit easier. Madhava we put on a couple of Hessian sacks, and we had to slide him across the floor. The 10 devotees pushing and sliding, and his servitor directing. So Madhava, he would move, but then he'd stop. He'd stop. Like Lord Jagannath. He was on the chariot, and the chariot would stop, and 3 elephants and everything like that. It couldn't move the chariot. But Lord Chaitanya came along and put his head against the back of the chariot, and the chariot started moving again. So Madhava, he wasn't moving. We were standing and looking, and so we stepped back as well. And the devotees, they were shuffling. You couldn't just drag, you had to shove, you had to slide to get some. And you could see Madhava, he was dancing. He was dancing across the floor. He was moving by his will, by the Lord's will. He was doing everything. And it's just our vision that was thinking, we've got to grunt and move him. So it was fortunate to be involved in those pastimes. And Lord Nrsingadev and Balaram meditate upon their particular qualities. Lord Nrsingadev is that anger and protection. He was so angry that he couldn't even be pacified. His own wife came and offered prayers. He couldn't be pacified. Everybody was trying to pacify him. So angry. So meditate upon that and how loving he is towards his devotees. And Balaram, he's a source of power. He's very powerful. So you see his strong forearms and his club. I was looking at his plough today and seeing how much of a formidable weapon that would be. You see the ploughs in India, in Mayapur. They're huge. 2 bullocks are pulling this plough, just like a huge ploughshare and a tree trunk to hold together. So that's the sort of weapon that Balaram would be wielding, and he'd be wielding and fighting against a Veda gorilla with an equal. They weren't using clubs; they were using tree trunks. The big tree trunk down in the creek down here, it's a massive trunk. So weapons mating, and they were smashing them to pieces. So you contemplate, you go deeply into the mood of the particular deity, the particular demon, the particular pastime, and you get realization of it. Not just superficial. I've heard about those pastimes. Yeah, they're ever fresh, and that's becoming confirmed. That's becoming closer to Krishna, going deeper in our relationship with Krishna. We want to love Krishna. God is great and I am small. Beginning of God realization. Why is he great? How is he great? How great is he? Lifting Govardhan Hill. We see Govardhan Hill. It's now a 22-kilometre parikram, but it's in some places very small. It was 5 kilometres high in Krishna's time, and Krishna held it aloft for 7 days, and nobody was in distress. Incredible. It's the achintya, inconceivable pastimes. Let's just try and get access to them. Let's try and please Krishna by our sincere chanting, by our sincere service, by a sincere supplication. Please Krishna, let me serve you, let me serve you. And then he will reveal more and more the intimate nature of him and his service. His service is not different from him. Hearing, chanting, remembering, offering prayers, worshipping the lotus feet, becoming a friend, surrendering everything, the items of devotional service. Okay? Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Gaura Premanam.